Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of SuperCoach Edge. This time it's a quick turnaround, given that the turnaround between round 2 and round 3 is only a few hours, less than 12 hours. So it's about to kick off in around about an hour's time from when we're going live now, if you're watching this on replay. But as you can see there, we'll not stuff around. We'll just go into the quick recap of my round 2 and then quickly get into my trade to round 3 and my VC and C for the round. So as you can see here, pretty good week. Won 8 of my 9 league matchups. The Colonel's absolutely going crazy, throwing chicken wings my way, which I always love to see. We'll go back a step, as you can see here. So I ended up scoring 1255, and also the rank, as you can see there, was a massive jump of 4,247. So that was absolutely incredible. Couldn't believe my eyes when I actually opened up SuperCoach and saw that. It was very, very pleasant surprise. So now I'm actually placed inside the top 1K, which I was obviously hoping to have happen after round 1, but for it to happen after round 2, just as pleased to see that. So ranked 976 overall, and that rank rise of 4,247 is probably one of the bigger rank rises I've seen in quite some time. So yeah, as I said, pretty happy. So let's jump into my team very quickly. And for anyone tuning in live, of course, if you want to throw any questions, comments my way, feel free to do so in the comments section to the left or right. I think to your right off screen, which is my left. Which is probably down there. But yes, sorry, it'll be that way. Let me open up just in another window before I jump into my team. You can see it pop up on screen in a moment. Alrighty, and just make sure, because I can't see of any questions coming in if I don't have it up on screen. So apologies for this. Just one quick memento, and I'll be able to jump in and check it out. Alrighty, here we go. So I can see here, and Bogues X, great to have you on board, mate. Harvey, likewise, mate. Get out of here, Hungry Jacks. We don't want your burgers as yet, even though they are quite nice at times, but cold as well. I've noticed that, just to go off on a quick tangent. Hungry Jacks, lift your game. Burgers, very cold all the time, so incredible. Anyway, Harvey, sorry, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but when I press play on my video, it came up with a Hungry Jacks ad. Anyway, Harvey, thanks for joining us, mate. Likewise, Jono, Hodges forever. Good to have you on board as well, mate. We're going to get some questions very, very shortly, but I'll just quickly run through my team. So I've, just to save time, I've actually gone through and I've made the trades for round 3. So what I'll do is I'll just go undo changes here, and you'll be able to see the changes that I did make and the players that I did have in my team. So first and foremost, I have brought in Quinton de Kock, even though he has been performing pretty ordinarily in the first couple of games, or at least game and a half for him. I think a lot of people will be on him, jumping on him. If you scroll down just to the bottom here, we should be able to see, where are we? Get on my OBS. You should be able to see here, actually, he's not showing up because he's in my team. But he was, I think, the first or second most traded in player. So I think, yeah, just the fact that he's going to be highly owned kind of negates any risk that he may present. 2 bites of the cherry, of course, with the double game for the Renegades. And for the Stars, of course, for those of you who are tuning in, obviously it will be across this. But de Kock, I think, he's got that high ceiling, very much like a Alex Hales, I guess. Even though he's been pretty bad to start the season, it's only a matter of time before he actually just bursts out of the blocks. And I think at Lavington, it's a smaller oval. There's, sorry, not Lavington. At Bluntstone, I think, yeah, there's potential there for him to whack some sixes. And I'm a little bit worried about the game. Is the second game for the Gades up against the Scorchers, because it is at Optus. And, of course, their bowling attack is absolutely relentless. But we'll give him a go. And as I said, if he does fail, it is what it is. High ownership, it kind of negates any risk there. Ended up getting rid of Darcy Short. He was someone I was going to keep, but it was more so out of just luxury more than anything. I think I wanted to keep at least one striker going forward, but due to the performance of, namely, of course, the Massaro, Matt Short, Overton, and who else did I have here? Just those. Oh, Walter as well for the Heat. Those are kind of the three guys I want to keep a hold of, especially because all of those guys are going to go up in price. They've got a negative break even of around about 30 to 60 ranging from. And Matt Short I want to keep for the rest of the season because the strikers do have another double coming up later in the season. So Darcy Short, he makes way. I'm also bringing in Tom Rogers, as you can see there. I had him last year, and I do actually rate him quite a lot with the ball, more so than the bat, but he is quite handy with the bat as well. I'm bringing him in because he does normally bowl those death overs, which are, as we know, renowned for being, some easy wickets and easy scores as well. Out goes Munro. I actually punted Munro initially during the round for round 2, but of course with Curran being banned for 4 matches, I reversed that trade and brought Munro back in. He went up around about close to, I think it was 9 to 10k, so at least there's a little bit of money, or at least a bit of a bonus that I made out of him there, despite the fact that he only scored 12. And then rounding us out for the trades, we have Steckity coming in, who I do love. When he was at the Heat, he was one of my favourite bowlers. Hopefully he is named, which the teams will be named very, very shortly. Those of you tuning in live might be able to let me know in the chat. We can roll through any big additions and omissions. Hopefully there's none in terms of the omission side of things. But Aaron Hardy, I would love to keep him, and he did me well, obviously in round 2 with 130. But given that the Perth Scorchers have a back-to-back bye coming up, it was like a matter of holding him this week or get rid of him next week anyway. So I think if I wasn't holding someone like a Matt Short, I would definitely hold Hardy. But because he's at a higher price point, it does mean that I can afford to spread the cash across, say, Tom Rogers, Quinton de Kock, and Steckity, while still having a fair bit of money in the bank for next round for the Thunder's double. Alrighty, so that's kind of the changes there. And as you can see there, I obviously had Darcy Short, Munro, and Hardy. Those were the guys that I had in my team. Darcy Short, 94. As I said, Munro with a 12 is what it is. And Aaron Hardy with a 130. So served me quite well there. Philippi with a 45. Now, the other option I do have is potentially getting rid of Philippi and keeping Hardy, and then switching de Kock into the wicket-keeping position. But the main thing here is that sort of, we always say we've got to look forward when it comes to BBL SuperCoach in the season. And because it's so condensed, I'm not a massive fan of any other wicketkeeper outside of Philippi at the moment. Just that surety that he provides me, consistency week in, week out. And I think, obviously, as we've seen with the Kock and what he's produced thus far, I don't have the confidence in holding him for the remainder of the season. So I'd much prefer to keep Philippi as opposed to, as I said, and was alluding to, kind of putting de Kock into the wicket-keeping position and trading out Philippi and keeping Hardy. So that's kind of the condensed thinking when it comes to that side of things. But it's one of those players that I think I'd love to hold week in, week out, and just have that consistency. He's a higher ownership as well, 59%. And it goes back to that point of, if he does fail, at least it doesn't hurt you that badly. And the only people that are going to be benefiting are the 41% of teams that don't own Philippi. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell. In terms of other good scorers, Overton 195. So given the fact that, let me just cancel that. I'll put on SuperCoach Plus so you can see here. So Overton's break-even is a negative 54. So he's actually projected to go up around about 20 to 30k when he returns from the bye. And then potentially again, if he can score 69 across both those games, he could be getting up well into the 215k mark. So do like him as a bit of a cash cow. And it goes back to that point of, what's his name? Shardbury, whatever his name is, playing for Hobart. Swepson as well. Those players that had a low break-even that people were jumping on as potential cash cows. Given the condensed season of BBL SuperCoach, it kind of goes back to that point of, you have players that are going to burst out of the blocks, especially on doubles, where they perform quite well, and it means that their break-even is quite low, and you can almost use them as playing cash cows, which is I'm going to be doing with Overton, and especially with Walter as well, who ended up scoring that massive score of 152, and likewise as well, negative 68 going into his next game, and then a negative 49 if he can score a 68 and a 71 back-to-back, which again would put him up at a similar price point to Overton of around about 215 to 220 odd. So quite like that, and it's really going to put me in good stead, especially going to the Scorchers back-to-back double when they have their doubles coming up, of course. because I'm going to have to fork out some extra money for Hardy, for Richardson, for Berendorf, and for Ty at the very least. So all those guys, higher price point, and it's going to serve me well going forward. Let's go back to the guys that served me well. Obviously, Matt Short, he was my VC, locked him in. Walter, I mentioned him. Sanger, I had the option of looping his score on for 25. Ended up gambling with Connolly. Ended up losing 19 points, but it is what it is. And that's pretty much round 2 in a nutshell. Let's continue on and look forward to round 3. And I'll quickly jump across back to the live chat because I am conscious of some of you people sending some comments through. Harvey McLellan, hey mate, was just waiting for your video to come out and it was getting very close to lockout and needed an idea on what trades to do. Well, thanks for tuning in always, mate. It's always a good pleasure to have people like yourself tuning in, but hopefully I can lead you in the right direction. Round 2 was nice to me, so hopefully round 3 can be to me as well as you. I'll keep rolling down the list. No doubt you've sent through a question following that one. Jono, g'day Damo, how are you going? G'day Jono, going well mate, hope you're well in turn. Hodges forever, Bancroft or Davies, looking forward to round 4. Yeah, I don't mind that. That was my other option of potentially using, because as you can see here, I've got 9 collective stars and score Renegades players. So it does put me in a pretty good position for this round, hopefully, or at least it gives us, 9 double bites of the cherry virtually. And what my other train of thought was, so outside of, I'll just pull this up again. I was always thinking of getting De Kock in. Just a bonus, he dropped in price. Rogers, likewise. Steckity, I was kind of on the fence with, even though, as I said, I love Steck Daddy. He is right up there in terms of one of the guys that I love. But I was thinking of maybe sacrificing, just because the Stars have been going quite crap. I'm not a massive fan of any of their players, especially their batsmen, because if they have, a top order collapse, it means the likes of Maxi, Stoinis, all those guys I've already got are going to be null and void. So I thought, okay, I can maybe go for a bowler with the Stars, or the other option is looking forward to round 4, like you've mentioned there, Hodges, and going for someone like a Bancroft or Davies. And I think between those two guys, you can't go too wrong. Bancroft looks like he's in pretty good form, got a good eye in. Likewise, Davies as well. So it's almost a 50-50 between those two guys. Personally, I would go with Davies. I think he's got the higher upside in terms of his ability to hit 6s and 4s and just find the boundary at will. But I think both of those guys should be on the agenda at the minimum for next round anyway. So even if you get one this week, chances are you'll get the next one for next round. Jono, you've said, would you consider trading any Thunder players due to them being on the double next week? You just covered that off. Sorry, I should have read ahead. Just answered that. But yes, I do like that. At least using one of the trades. I think going for 2 trades for the Thunder players is probably a little bit overboard, and you're kind of not capitalising on this week's 2 double games. So, yeah, those are my thoughts there. B-Joy Talukda, thoughts on Dawson now. With Dawson, I think he's actually finished now for the BBL. You'll see with the teams being announced, or they would have been announced, I think. He's actually done, because he was a replacement player for one of their internationals. So don't get Dawson into your sides for this round. Or at the very least, he's going to play the first game and not play the second game. But we'll have to have a look in a moment as to the teams. In fact, let's do that, shall we? Let's have a quick look over. Go to Honeyball, of course. They always do some fantastic stuff being on the ball. And putting out the teams. Hopefully my internet does not absolutely cark it. Alrighty, let's have a quick squeeze. So Sanger comes in, Jilks goes out. It's no surprise there for the Thunder. Sanger's still in, Tanvir, of course, which is good to see. And the Stars, have they even released their teams yet? That's the one thing that annoys me about BBL SuperCoach, is the fact that those to the actual game being played. And look at that, they haven't even put out their teams yet, and they've put out, like, they're batting first, and they put out a video of that. Like, come on, fellas, what are you doing? So hopefully we can see that. Actually, we'll go to cricket.com.au because they're usually pretty good as well. Alrighty, here we go. So Dawson's playing the game, the first game. I don't think he's playing the second game, though. So I would be very, very wary of that. Steckety's in, which is good to see. Global, g'day mate, thanks for tuning in. Thoughts on Webster, will he bowl? I don't think he will, given the fact that they've got Steckity, they've got Ralph, they've got Usama Mir, they've got Dawson still on the team. All those guys should at least have full overs. Stoinis may bowl maybe 1 or 2. Maxwell, I think he'll bowl 2. So maybe Webster gets maybe 2 at sort of maximum, I think. But outside of that, I think he's pretty much hard-pressed to be expected to bowl his full allocation of 4 overs. But he was my other guy that I was looking at as well in terms of stars players. And then Ralph as well. I think it's Ralph. He will play both double games for this round. But then after this, I think Pakistan have actually put a little bit of an embargo on him and the other bloke who plays for... Who's the other bloke? Khan, of course. These 2 guys here, I think they're being made to go back home because they have to prepare for national duties after this round. So if you're getting Ralph with the idea of keeping him for the Stars next double in 2 rounds' time, don't do it because he'll be gone. All right, let's go back to my team ever so quickly. Oops, where are we? There we go. Just scrolling down the chat here. JB 2223. You scored 1333 points in round 2. Well done, mate. That's a ripper. Hodges forever. Are you boosting this week? Did you have Curran? I did have Curran. As I mentioned, I actually reversed the trade and brought what's his name back in, Munro back in. But Munro's gone this week anyway. So even if I didn't reverse it, I was going to get rid of him this week anyway, because if you haven't heard, Abbott has been banned for 4 matches for a clash with an umpire. But no, I'm not boosting this week, Hodges, because I am aiming for potentially using a boost next week, just because I'm stacked with double game players as it is already, and I'm content with using Philippe as my sort of 10th player, and my 11th player will most likely be Sanger. I've put Sanger there as the emergency, and Short as sort of the loophole option there. That's the main reason. There is an option there of maybe me using the boost after the fact, but I'm not keen on getting rid of any other players that I've got at the moment to prepare for future weeks. So I'll probably more than likely use a boost next week, or at the very least, my idea is always to use them for the Scorchers doubles and for the triple double game round that we're going to be treated with in round 7, I think it is, potentially. Yeah, so the Heat are on a double, the Hurricanes and the Scorchers. So I'm definitely keeping one of my boosts for that round. And just going back to the chat. Harvey, you've said, Sean Abbott has killed me not playing the best 2 games. Yeah, cost me a league win, not playing the second game in his double and scoring a 35 and then not playing at all in round 2. Hope he's back from illness. I was very close to starting him as well, Harvey. Very, very close, because he's one of my favourite players. Highest wicket taker in BBL history as well, so speaks for itself in terms of his quality. But yeah, that's just super unlucky. But we kind of noted that, didn't we? That we had Zampa being rested, Sean Abbott, like the guys that we're playing for the Aussie side after the World Cup and after their T20 series got rested more often than not. So yeah, something to keep in mind, I guess, for next season. But yeah, that's a shit position, and very unfortunate for you, Harvey. I feel for you, mate. Where are we? Just got to quickly scroll through here because the game's going to start in half an hour. A little bit of time up our sleeves. Thank you, Hodges. You've said Stickity has been named to start. Jono, my double game week players this week are De Kock, Sutherland, the Rooster, McGurk, Maxwell, Zampa, and Kane Richo. I like that, mate. So what do you got there? You got 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 6. That's pretty good. I think 6 is probably a minimum of what you'd need to really make the most. Maybe 5 you could get away with, depending on the quality of players that you have outside of the double game players. I always say that. As long as you got guys that can produce on a single game, much like I saw with Hardy that I had for round 2, you can get away with not having as many because I only had 3 out of Overton. I had Matt Short and Darcy Short. Those are my only double game players for the strikers or for the round. ended up scoring, obviously pretty well because I went up close to 5,000 ranking spots. So it's not always the be and all end all. Global, is Majid playing both games? I would think he is, mate. Don't think there's any restrictions on him, the Afghanistan man. Hodges, starting 11 is on quick info. Yep, I've got Webster, Steckity, Cartwright, and Maxi for the Stars. I don't mind that, mate. I do like Carty as well. He's one of the more reliable batsmen, but the trouble is with Cartwright is he bats middle order, or at least 6th or 7th. So in order for him to actually score well, it means that you're going to have a top order collapse. So it means that, for those people, pretty much we've all got Maxwell, but if there's a top order collapse, more than likely that's going to involve Maxwell going out as well pretty cheaply. So it kind of is a bit of anti-correlation, I like to call it. So in order for Cartwright to score well, more than likely one of the other players that you have in Maxi has to score poorly. But Maxi being highly owned, it doesn't really matter in this case, I don't think. But I do like those players. Hodges, Telly FN, thanks for tuning in, mate. You've said, do you think Chaudhary will play this round? I don't really have a choice. I think I have to field him. I think he will, mate. Like, I watched the game and he looked absolutely elite with the bat. Did have a bowl as well. But I do like him, and I think they will reward him with an extra game. I know he came in for Matty Wade, but there is another player I'm sure that they'll be able to drop before Chaudhary. And yeah, I wish I had him, but it is what it is. Global, Bancroft has the gloves. He does indeed. Of course, that's a very good point, Global, because Julks is out. So it does mean that there's 2 bites of the cherry there for him in terms of scoring opportunity, both with the gloves and with the bat. So I like that point out, Global, for those of you that were keen to potentially get Bancroft in early ahead of their double game round next round. Jono, you've said my overall team is De Kock, Sutherland, Bancroft, Maxwell, Fraser McGurk, Chaudhary, Zampa Khan, Sanger, Kane Richo, and Connolly. Good team, mate. Looking solid. Hodges, I'm looping Sanger and Davies for this first game. Yeah, that's the other thing as well. If you are in a position where you've brought in some Thunder players, I would very, very much, as sort of the caveat to that, try and have them on the bench so you can loop them on. Just because, obviously make the most of, getting a bit of a look at how they score. As you can see here with Sanger, more than likely I'm going to have to play him anyway, unless I used a bit of a boost. But, if you're in a position where you have another playing bench player that isn't a Stars player or a Thunder player, obviously, and you can sort of have a bit of a look at the Thunder player, and if they score low, you can always bring on the next bench player. So I'm always a massive fan of that. Shano, PAFC, thanks for joining us, mate. Any consideration of getting a Thunder guy in this round? You must have joined late, mate. Apologies, but I've noted that I was keen on doing so. I don't think I'll be using a boost in this case in order to do it. These are my trades that are set. As you can see here, if you tuned in late, bringing in De Kock, Rogers, and Steckity. My thought was potentially if I wasn't going for Steckity, because I'm not too crash hot on the Stars, no surprise there, I was thinking of maybe bringing in an Ollie Davies or a Bancroft at minimum, or potentially even a Sams, because if there's a collapse for the Stars, you'd think Sams will be polishing some pole. That's not a good turn of phrase, but I was going to say polishing up some poles, but no, he'll be skittling some poles and some bales. So those are probably the 3 guys that I'd be keen on most, but I don't mind that thinking there, Shano. Bogues, I'm boosting this week, bringing in Steckity, Quinton de Kock, Rogers from the Gades, and Richo. Have 9 now for the double game week. Those trade-ins look okay. They look great to me, mate. You're pretty much in line with all the guys that I've got. I've got Steckity, de Kock, Rogers from the Gades, and I started with Richo in my team. So, like that, the only one that I maybe have a question mark over, but of course I've already got him and I started with him, is Kane Richardson. In recent times where the Gades have played back-to-back games or double game week, he has been rested for the second game, so or at least for one of the games. So just keep that in mind. If he is rested, obviously you'd need to have someone on the bench that you can kind of loop in if need be. So for me, that's probably the one thing that I'll be looking to do. But I think at the very least he's going to play one of the 2 games, and I think he's due for some wickets. Hodges forever. I have 2 Gades, Fraser McGurk, the Rooster, and Chief to go with 5 stars. Like that, mate. 5 stars. Wow. Let us know what stars you've got. But either way, they're due the stars. They're very much due for a bit of a turnaround in fortunes and form. Um, Harvey, you've said, did you see what I commented on your first look at AFL Supercoach 2024 adapt DCOS? Don't start him. No, I haven't seen that yet, mate. I'll go back and have a look. But yeah, I'll have to put out another team reveal episode, because obviously the one that I released was before SuperCoach as a platform came out with their strategy around round zero, not accounting, and they've still yet to release how many extra trades that we're going to get, which they'll be doing in January. So I think I won't be doing another video until I reconvene with Liam in the new year. Of course, my partner in crime. So yeah, look out for that. But yeah, that team was kind of on the proviso of not knowing what the strategy is with AFL Supercoach. But now it's all cleared up. We can do that. But I'll have a look at your comment, mate. Shano, I'd look to get rid of one of those Gades for a Thunder guy and prep for next round. But solid side and you were going well. Good luck for this round, mate. Likewise to you, Shano. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm not a fan, just because, I mean, yeah, I could. I mean, getting rid of, I could potentially not start a Tom Rogers, but I think they are due for a win. I reckon they'll beat the Hurricanes, and I think, as I said, Tom Rogers is due for a bit of a turnaround in form. And just, I've got to make the most of these double game rounds. I think, for those of you who haven't seen, but Andrew Langley, who has won back-to-back BBL Supercoach, he has actually got a full team, 11 players from both Stars and the Gade. So absolutely insane. So I've got to keep up with him. I'm ahead of him at the moment. So hopefully I can continue on. But yeah, I don't mind that, Shano, of course. If you want to go that strategy and sort of prepare for the Thunder's double game next round, you can definitely do that. But I think I might be doing that in terms of using one of my boosts for next round. JB, you've said, any worries about Zampa and Richardson low scoring in both games they have played this season? There is a little bit, mate. There is a little bit, but I think both of those guys are due. I think Zampa especially, he had sort of a delayed start because of the fact he was playing for the Aussies. And yeah, he had that week off. So I think he's just absolutely cooked. But now he's back fit and firing after that break. I think he should start to work into a bit of form. Richo likewise as well. Yeah, I started with Richo, so I can't get rid of him, and likewise Zampa as well. But both of those guys, I think they're going to be pretty highly owned. Let me just go across to the players, and you'll be able to see here, for those of you with SuperCoach Plus, is a bit of a bonus. What you do is go click on SuperCoach Plus, go down to Coach's Choice, all coaches, and you'll be able to see the ownership change. If you just click on the round ownership change, let me see if it's in. Yep. And you'll be able to see the most traded in player. No surprise is Fraser McGurk, 11.5%. That's his live ownership, 47.8%. Quinton de Cox, the second most traded in. Maxwell, which is strange. Again, people shouldn't have traded him out. But he's the third most traded in. Sutho, the chief, fourth most traded in. And Stoinis, surprisingly. Which I started with Stoinis. I wouldn't be going for Stoinis as a trade-in, but that's me. And in terms of Thunder players, Bancroft is the most traded in player there. Just going back to those questions there. Tally FN. Also, do you think it's worth using a boost to switch Jay Clark for Steckity? Joe Clark from the Gades to Steckity? No. I know they both have a double game, but I have no faith in Clark at all. No. If you've already got Clark, it's kind of a wasted trade in my eyes, going from a player on a double game to another player on a double game. I know like he hasn't shown the best form, but you know, if you've started with him, stick with him. I think I'd prefer to use that trade to bring in another double game player more than anything. So if you've got another player you could trade out to bring in Steckity, I'd be doing that and keeping Jay Clark just because he has the 2 bites of the cherry. Jadamai, thanks for joining us, mate. Does Steckity have more upside than Webster? I think he does personally. I think he's just an absolute gun, and I think he's going to get more overs as a specialist bowler compared to Webster, who's more of an all-rounder. So as I said earlier, if you tuned in a bit late, I think Webster's probably going to get maybe a chance at bowling, but I think the maximum that he will bowl, unless he starts bowling pretty well early, I think he's probably 2 overs that he's going to get max. But that's just my guesstimation. Don't take it to the bank, of course. Shano, you've said, did join late. Sorry, no apologies at all. Didn't know you had already touched on Sydney Thunder players. Now, any questions you may have, always happy to go back and just quickly rehash it. Harvey McLennan, what trades do I do this round? My team at the end of the last round was Philippe, McDermott, Sutherland, Hardy, Walter, Maxwell, Fraser McGurk, Overton, both shorts, Abbott, Zampa, Sanger, Stoinis, Connolly. It's hard without seeing the visual on screen, mate. But Overton's still got some cash to make if you can keep him. I would probably even consider getting rid of Abbott at this stage, as silly as that is to say, but the Sixers don't have a double coming up. And then potentially punting Darcy Short. Keep Matt Short if you can, because I think he's like the player, like Philippi, like I said earlier, where he's a guy that you can rely upon and really bank upon to score consistently on single game weeks. And of course, the strikers have a double coming up in 2 to 3 rounds' time. So if you can do that, so I'd probably say Abbott, Darcy Short, keep Matt Short if you can, but if you can't, I understand, and use Matt Short to get someone of quality in. I can't really tell there as to which guys have the buys without seeing the visual, but go around that, and hopefully that's some sort of guide. Johnson, I'd get rid of Johnson as well from the Heat, obviously. In terms of guys so I'd get rid of Johnson first and foremost. I'd get rid of Abbott and then Darcy Short. If not Darcy Short, Matt Short. Hopefully that helps. I assume McDermott's not playing on your field, but even so, he's not worth all that much cash anyway, so you could probably just keep him. And then maybe if you need to get rid of another player, actually Hardy you could get rid of as well. I got rid of Hardy, so I'd keep Matt Short at that higher price point, punt Hardy, get rid of Abbott, and get rid of Johnson. So there's a few players there that I've mentioned. Hopefully that helps. In terms of guys to look to get in, as you can see here with the most traded in plays, I've already got McGurk. I'll look at Quinton de Kock. You've got Maxi. You've got the Chief. I'd be looking at Tom Rogers from the Renegades, potentially. Outside of that, it's kind of becomes a little bit murkier. Steckity, I don't mind either because I'm bringing him in. There's a few guys there for you. Bogues, would a Stars or Thunder batter be a better trade in than Richo? Then possibly. Bancroft and Sanger, Stoyan, Webster, Cartwright. Are those the guys that you think you're bringing in? So I don't follow you there, Bogue. Sorry, mate. Let me know what you meant there. Hodges, Harper as bench loop, Cartwright, Webster, Maxwell, Steckity. Yeah, I don't mind that, mate. Don't mind those trade-ins. B-Joy, Stoinis, Harper, Webster. Pick one from them. Gee whiz, that's hard. Oh. See, Stoinis is due for a game where he could just pop off. I don't think he's going to get any opportunity with bowling, so I'll probably just make him a specialist batter. Harper, he's probably due for a bit of a hit and a giggle. And Webster as well. I think he might get an opportunity with bat and maybe with the ball. So maybe Webster. But geez, I'm not a fan of any of those guys really, but at a pinch, I'd probably say Webster. Hodges, aim to hold Steckity if I can. Cartwright and Webster for the double. Holding Maxwell and Harper. Yep, I don't mind that, mate. Don't mind it. Bogues. Oh, your trade-ins were above Bogues, that we're saying. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, I get you. So yeah, if Kane Richardson possibly gets... Again, that's the thing. I don't know because he's already... Did he have a rest early on? Don't remember if he did. If he hasn't already... There's probably more of a chance that he's going to get a rest, but and maybe Siddle comes on instead of him. But again, it's a complete guess. Like if Richo comes out and smashes it in the first game and gets a bag of wickets, who's to say they don't play him for the second game? So maybe it's dictated by if he looks like he's labouring and stuff, they might give him a rest for the second game. But it's all guesswork. That's a thing. You might opt for someone else as opposed to Richo, and Richo comes out and smashes it. So it's hard to say. But if you wanted to go for another guy outside of Richo, of those guys you mentioned, you said Bancroft or Sanger. If it's Tanvir, I'd be getting Tanvir. But I assume you're talking about the other Sanger, who I'm not a fan of. So Bancroft I like. Stoyan, no. Webster's 50-50, and Cartwright's probably 50-50 as well. So... I'd probably run the risk of either going for Richo or Bancroft, in my opinion. But that's just my own thoughts. As I said, Richo, I'm backing him in to turn his form around and get a bag. Get yourself a bag, Richo. He's due. He's bloody well and truly due. He's Stewie. He's only taken a wicket in both games. So, Harvey, thoughts on Chris Jordan? Went crazy last round. He did go crazy last round, but it's an anomaly when it comes to Chris Jordan, Harvey. I wouldn't be, because getting someone in after they've scored well is what we term chasing points. He may do it again. He may have just found form, but more often than not, historically, Jordan hasn't been the more reliable player to score at that rate historically, consistently week to week. So I'm not a fan of Chris Jordan, and because of their double isn't until round 7 for the Hurricanes, he doesn't present any real upside there. So I'd almost wait, and I imagine his price is probably, not Johnson, Jordan. His price point is going to go through the ceiling. Yeah, he's already got up to 126. Break even negative 26. No, not a fan of Chris Jordan halves. Jack Larson, already have 9 stars engaged to bring in a Thunder as my last trade. Like that, Jack. Good way to sort of get ahead of the pack and plan for next round. Bogues, easy mate. We'll back K Richard. Yeah, it's up to you, Bogues. Don't take my word for it. I was very lucky last round with a couple of my choices. Ended up backing in Walter, kept him. Backed in Overton over getting Payne in. So a couple of the choices that I made have been very, very lucky, I think. Call me tinny, bit of a tin ass. But I think those are just my thoughts. So if you wanted to go the opposite, there's merit in it, absolutely. Hodges, I see you VC'd Maxi and C Chief as well, 100%. The one thing I'm doing as well, for those people out there that are watching, if you own Stoinis and you own a Connolly or a Hardy or someone, more so a Connolly, because it's probably someone that you'd want to sort of loop off the bench. Let me just go across to my OBS here so you can see the full screen. Oops. There we go. So you can see here. And what I'm talking about and referring to here is, so you see the fixture on the right-hand side. We'll make that round 3. What I'm going to be doing is, because Stoinis has been performing pretty shit to start the season, I'm actually going to be having 2 looks at Marcus Stoinis, the Stoinberg. Now, what I mean by this is because the Stars, their doubles, they're played obviously the first game and then the second last game. Both of their games are before the Scorchers. So because I've got Connolly, what I'm going to be doing is putting Stoinis on the bench, with the emergency, of course, and putting on field Connolly. So what this allows me to do is have a look at how Stoinis performs in the first game against the Thunder and then his second game against the Sixers. If he ends up scoring shit, I'm just going to be able to keep Connolly on field. Hopefully Connolly keeps his spot, of course. Pending he does, I'll be able to keep Connolly on field, keep Stoinis there on the bench, and I won't have to take and swallow his scores. If Stoinis smashes it, alternatively, in both of those games, now, there is a bit of a tight turnaround here. Just be wary in the Tuesday game, because the Sixers and the Stars, they're playing 3 hours and 10 minutes, which the game should be done before the Perth Scorchers and the Renegades game. So I'll be able to see, I think the game should be done by then. If Stoinis kills it in both of those games, what I do is just switch Overton on field, and it means that I loop on Stoinis' score. So a little bit of a hack for those of you out there that have someone like a Connolly or the like, on the bench, and you also have a buy player that you can use to loop on Stoinis' score. So that's what I'm going to be using as a little bit of a cheeky way to just kind of offset the amount of people that have Stoinis in their teams. I think his ownership will probably go up to around about 30, or go over 30% at the very least. So at least it gives me a little bit of a buffer over those teams. So if Stoinis goes shit, at least then, as I said, I can put on Connolly. So a little bit of a trick for those people that are tuning in. But yeah, Hodges, back to your point, VC Maxi and C Chief, you've done it as well. I think it's going to be the more popular option. And yeah, that's pretty much that. JB, we'll end up finishing this off because the game's about to start in 14 minutes time, and I'm just conscious of that. JB, you've said team last week was Philippe, Walter, Fraser McGurk, Hardy, Richo, Sutho, Zampa. Both shorts, Overton and Curran, with Connolly coming in as cover. Got me 1333 points. Very nice, JB. You've absolutely smashed that on the head there. Really do enjoy that. Let me just double check that there's no nothing that I'm missing here in terms of the teams. Feel free to flick through any last questions that you may have as well. All right, let me shoot that back across. Okay, let's go back across. Bogues, thanks for your patience. You've said, no, I appreciate your insight. Already had K Richo as a trade-in. We'll back my gut. Won't be your fault if he crumbles. Thanks, mate. Gives me a little bit of a breather. But yeah, I think he's due. As I said, I think he's due. But you're always backing your gut. That's the thing. I was very, very close to trading out Hardy to Payne, I think it was. And that would have bit me on the absolute arse. The only reason I didn't do that was at the last second was because the SuperCoach gods helped me by making sure that I fell short by around about $1,000. So again, really was fortunate there. But other 50-50, I guess, decisions that I had as well were Overton instead of Payne, as I said. Who else was there? Yeah, keeping Hardy. And the other 50-50 choice that I could have made, which I didn't, was keeping Curran and just having McGurk sub on. And that would have netted me another 90 odd points. So it is what it is, or 80, 75, whatever it is, difference from Munro, because that's who I traded to. Cheers for the stream. No worries, JB. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Appreciate it. Harvey, did 3 of the 4 trades you suggested? Johnson to Rogers, Hardy to DeCock, Abbott to Steckity, and AK short from going Darcy short to Bancroft. Oh, shit. In that case, could you go for Ollie Davies? I think, is he more expensive? 134. Or would you say you've got Davies? Yeah, I'd look at Davies instead of Bancroft, 100% in that position there, Harvey. But again, backing your gut. Don't just follow me, because this is just my own hunch, and this is kind of the guys that I think should bowl well. And just noting as well, I've kind of overloaded on Renegades players, which can be a sort of an anti-correlation type thing, where because I've got Zampa, Richo, Rogers, and even Sutho, because he gets a bowl. The chance of all these guys going off and getting like 2 wickets each is pretty rare. So it means more often than not, at least one of these guys, if not 2, might go ordinary, and another guy sort of pops off and goes bananas. But it kind of like, if you spread the load of the one guy that pops off over the rest of the 1 guy, the 2 guys that go ordinary, at least it kind of evens out a bit. But it kind of covers all bases in this sense here, where at least I get all the main guys that, they should at least there should be a guy there at least that nabs 2+ wickets, if that makes sense. Hodges, let's hope it's a good batting pitch today. Absolutely. I think it's Lamington. I think he's well renowned for being having short boundaries. So I reckon a lot of the batsmen should go bananas here, hopefully. Especially DeCock and whatnot. But yeah, I saw you mentioned that you did 3 of the 4 trades, Harvey. There's no obligation to do the 4th, the boost, if you don't want to. So you can always hold up your sleeve and do that next week in terms of bringing in a Thunder player. Roman, what to do if you have Abbott? I would personally, if you need sort of someone at a higher price point to trade out, I'd be looking to potentially trade Abbott. The Sixers don't have a double for the entirety of this season, so that's kind of the one thing that it's a bit of a safety net. But Abbott traditionally on a single game week has been pretty reliable, but because he's been battling with illness, he got rested. He's kind of, he's going to be a little bit out of form, you'd think, potentially. But I still like him. Back him in if you can. But as I said, if you need someone to trade out at that higher price point, he is definitely a candidate. But I think that is pretty much that, ladies and gents. That'll pretty much do it, I reckon. So because the game is about to start in 9 minutes, I am conscious of not taking up all of your time. Do really appreciate all of you tuning in, of course. As you can see there, that's my team heading into round 3. As you can see, those are the changes that I've made. Have a quick look at that. You can wind back as well, of course, if you're watching live. Not going to be undoing those changes to start things up. But I'll leave all of you folks here. Give you time. Got 7 minutes, just under 8 minutes now to go over your team. Make sure everything's hunky-dory. Do your last trades. And fingers crossed we're treated with a nice couple of games, actually, because there's one game today, of course, the Stars and the Thunder. And then tonight we have the Hurricanes up against the Gades. So really do like that. We'll finish off with a couple of comments here or questions, and then we'll finish off because I'm wary of allowing enough time to make sure that I didn't stuff anything up with loopholes and stuff, because I'm always worried. It's very much got to triple check things, that's for sure. Harvey, Oliver Davies, last time he played at Lavington last season or 2 seasons ago against the Hurricanes, hit 70 off 35, went bananas with sixes. He did. I think that was last year potentially. He's a gun, Ollie Davies. I do enjoy him. And then to round us out, Cricket at 8, thanks for joining us, mate. Stoinis or Usama Mir, or flip a coin on that one, sorry, mate. I don't think Stoinis is going to bowl. Stoinis could pop off with a bat. He's well due. Smaller oval as well, like I just mentioned with Lavington. There's a great opportunity here for him to put a solid innings together. So, Usama Mir has been okay, but hasn't been fantastic, I guess. That's a genuine 50-50. I wouldn't be able to tell you there, mate. If you're going with a crowd, Stoinis is the higher owned player, and Usama Mir would be very much so the pod, I think, in this case. Yeah, he's in 1% of teams. So if Mir goes shit, it's really going to hurt you more than Stoinis, who's obviously higher owned, and being that higher ownership negates that risk as well. So that is pretty much that. Ladies and gents, thanks so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate your patronage, and of course so late as well, and apologies I couldn't get a video out earlier, but as we know, with the quick turnarounds between rounds with BBL SuperCoach, we just need to punch out as much as we can. But hopefully for those of you that tuned in, was able to help you in some way, shape or form. Cricketer, appreciate it. You said, mate, going with me because of the pod. There you go. There's your answer, mate. Always a good way to sort of balance things out as well. If you want to go down the pod route, or you want to go down the route of potentially, sorry, I've lost connection with my mouse. Would you believe? Literally as the stream's about to end. So I'll need to stay on the stream for at least a minute more in order to charge my goddamn magic mouse. If you've got a magic mouse, if you're a Mac user, I don't know why they put the charger underneath. So stupid. So dumb. Anyway, probably we'll stay in here for another minute, give you a bit of an extra look at things, but I can't control anything because my mouse is out of action. But yeah, going into next round, a bit of a quick look. I'll be looking to potentially, obviously, bringing in Thunder players. I'll be targeting at this stage Sam's 100%, Ollie Davies 100%. Bancroft is 50-50, and I love Alex Hales just because of the fact he is the sort of player that can pop off on any given week, and the chances of him doing it on a double game week are pretty high, because I think he's done that historically as well. So I might even think of using my boost, have 5 double game week players from the Thunder, including Sanger, who I've already got, and go from there. But that is pretty much my plans heading into that Thunder game next round. Of course, I'll do another video, hopefully if we have time, coming out of this round, going into round 4, and give you a bit of a rundown of how I went in round 3, and also my plans going into round 4. But that's pretty much it. Thanks again so much for joining us, and we'll see you, as we always say, same time, same place. We'll see you then. Cheers.